the Panasonic S5 right here in my hand. It's the first Panasonic camera I have reviewed on this channel. Frankly, when it was announced, I didn't take much notice and I never considered owning it, and yet here it is. We bought it. If you're new here, hello, my name is Leigh. I have a passion for photography and I share videos every week on anything where you might have a camera in your hand. Today, it is a camera review. I also have some lighting and technique videos on the calendar coming up, as well as a couple of adventures that I'll be going on and sharing. You may even see my partner Raymond from time to time. In fact, he actually captured the majority of the photos that you will see in this video. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. I will also put information in the description to my full courses if you want to learn more from me in terms of basics of photography and technique for different types of photography. If you are not new here, you may have noticed that we have become increasingly excited about the L mount. The addiction started with the purchase of the Leica SL2, one of my favorite cameras that I've ever used. And we've also borrowed several L mount cameras and lenses. And we've purchased lenses from all three companies in the L mount alliance. With two photographers in the house, suddenly very passionate about the L mount, it was only a matter of time before we started looking at some of the camera body options. And I think it's worth mentioning those. We tried and made a video about the SL2S, and I enjoyed it very much. I'm actually scheduled to do another project with it soon. The SL2S is the same body as the SL2, which is substantial, so Raymond and I also wanted to consider more compact L mount options. The most compact L mount bodies are the Sigma FP and FPL, with the Leica CL and TL2 being not too much bigger. I adore the Sigma bodies and I have reviewed them both. The Leica CL and TL2 are also great options, though they both contain APS-C sensors. With the Panasonic S5, it's smaller than the big Leicas, but larger than the FP and the Leica APS-C bodies. And it has a nice deep grip, and it's an efficient body. The ergonomics and placement of the controls are comfortable. Everyone's a little bit different in what they prefer, but for Raymond and I, there just wasn't too much buried in the menus, but there wasn't a complicated set of controls on the body either. It's just a nice balance. If you watched the video where I introduced to you all that we had purchased this body, you may remember that Raymond made the case for it, and it is already broadening the utility of our L mount lenses. I mean, you'd have to pry the Leica SL2 out of my cold dead hands, but the S5 may be a worthy sidekick. Let's dig in. The S5 is a very straightforward camera. Usability is important, and its controls seem to take the best of mirrorless controls that we've used, combined with an SLR or DSLR feel with the way some of the buttons, dials, and switches are arranged. Raymond and I agreed that if we had to design a camera, taking both our own preferences and also what we have heard from you all in the last 11 plus years here on YouTube, we'd come up with something very close to this camera. The proof, though, comes from using it, where the combination of usability and capability meet. So we use different locations with different lenses to make sure that we have the best information for you all as possible. We used it with Leica, Sigma, and Panasonic lenses, and even our Voigtlander 28mm M mount lens with an L mount adapter. Every once in a while, Raymond and I would need to hunt around for a control or setting, but largely everything was as we expected, and that's a huge compliment for Panasonic because we have absolutely zero experience with their menus and controls. That being said, I want to be clear about one thing here. This isn't the fastest camera we've used, or the highest resolution sensor, or any other superlatives. It is a quick camera, it is a capable camera, but not hurried. The images look great and have plenty of latitude when processing. The video features actually may be superlative. You can shoot 4K 30p, 422 10-bit to the SD card, and there are other video options that I'll put up on the screen for you to check out to see if your favorite is there. And speaking of the SD card, there are two SD card slots, though only one is UHS 2. The other is UHS 1. The S5 is one of the lowest cost L mount bodies, and while certainly not inexpensive, it's a great option for those curious about the L mount. Having a Leica body first gave me pause when Raymond proposed the purchase. I thought, What if it's not as good? Or what if I wish I'd purchased another Leica like the SL2S or even the CL? Or what if I end up wanting both? But if there's one thing that I've learned with the L mount is that I've never met a lens that I did not absolutely love. And this S5 uses those lenses, so we were poised to get off on the right foot. So when lens choice and quality and the body's usability are there, it's tough to find something lacking. We both love what we have here with these images. You can take this S5 and put absolutely stunning Leica lenses on it, like the 24 to 90 millimeter Vario lens. The next minute you can have the S5's kit lens or a Sigma contemporary lens on the S5 and travel light while still getting the quality that you want. The L-mount Alliance brings so much to each camera body and lens: design, size, capability, approaches, all interchangeable with one another. I just can't say enough good things about it. Panasonic with the Leica? Sure. Leica with the Panasonic kit lens? Why not? It's all about you and what you want on any given day. Now, I've been praising the S5 so far, but it wasn't all perfect. Of the L-mount cameras I've used, none have had the amazing autofocus capability of the Sony bodies I've used, or even the slightly less so but still amazing autofocus of the Nikon Z bodies I've used. The L-mount bodies work very well, but they simply don't have the virtually predictive autofocus of those other brands. I recorded 2 members-only videos this week on the S5, and there is some slight focus hunting, which leaves me in focus. The camera was on face detect autofocus, by the way. But there are near constant shifts or changes in the bokeh in the video. It's relatively slight. Some of my members commented that they didn't even notice it. Whether it's objectionable depends on who you are, but it's not something I experience with Sony or Nikon, and it is objectionable to me. And I should be clear here that this particular issue really only comes up in video when the subject is very still. Also, I would like to see an L-mount brand bring a 200 to 600 millimeter lens to the table, like this Sony telephoto zoom. So even though the autofocus on this or the SL2 isn't class leading, I'm not going to miss the opportunity to put a sweet telephoto lens on my Leica or Panasonic here. Sigma does have a 100 to 400 with some teleconverter options that we've tested on their SL2, and they do work nicely. I did do some wildlife photography with it, but there's an aperture penalty when you're using the teleconverters, and I don't love that. Raymond did also use our Panasonic 70 to 200 millimeter f4 lens to capture some birds in flight with the S5, and even without that super zoom, it's all looking good. But to make the L-mount Alliance a more well-rounded system and one that I could use as a primary system, I would need the better autofocus and a super telephoto lens. Now, there are some interesting focus modes on the S5, while tracking wasn't always keeping up. By configuring an oval area of focus zones, then keeping the bird in that oval, it actually worked perfectly. Don't get me wrong, like I said a moment ago, I would love the life-changing tracking, but keeping the bird in the oval was easy, and the IBIS certainly helped us here too, both when tracking and in keeping the photos crisp. Again, there are no extremes with the S5. It gets the job done with intuitive controls and an easy menu structure. It's quick overall, and the final product is what we'd expect. It's simply a camera that works. It does what you need. Is it a Leica SL2 or SL2S in sheep's clothing? No, not for me at least. The color science is different, though I do appreciate the realistic color of the S5. The menus and some of the other features differ, and while Leica is all about a mix of design and function in their cameras, the S5 is simply a tool. It's fun and elegant to use. I would recommend it for sure. But it does not evoke the same feelings as a Leica. It's not as nice to look at, and that's okay. That's why choices are great. I would love to hear what you think about this camera, or if you looked at it and chose something else. What are your thoughts? We do have another video coming up about this S5. A few videos ago, I asked if you had L-mount questions, and I thought there would be a few, but there were dozens, maybe over 100 at this point. Raymond and I are working to digest those, group them together, and answer them in a follow-up video. Like I mentioned earlier, we purchased this camera and we're using it quite a lot, so you'll see it in future videos. I know for sure that it will be a part of the next Camp Astro, where Raymond and I go out for astrophotography in the darkest skies that we can find. And it's never too late to ask for questions, so feel free to ask down in the comments below. On your way there, please do give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.